My name is Gerard Cressis. I'm your NDP candidate in here in Bruce. And it's an exciting jump from community news to politics, but I see it as a vital jump and a sacred duty because Canadian politics are changing and people are voting for progress. And after more than 2 decades of cuts, austerity, and red and blue corruption, the NDP is being, right now, the forefront of progressive politics. And we have been for decades, trying to improve our healthcare, our social networks, our green, sustainable industries, and of course, our food supply. And we have to ask why, only in a year, when the NDP stands to form a government, are the other parties beginning to do the same? Most of Trudeau's platform is pretty much borrowed from the NDP. They've done this in the past, and they've promptly about-faced when elected. And Harper's playing catch-up as well, with our childcare benefits and lowering the small business tax rate. But why couldn't they have looked after Canadians, made these promises when they held majorities under Harper or Chrétien? In rural Ontario, our concerns are about people. Inequality, seniors in poverty, the high cost of raising a young family, no jobs for qualified people, no qualified people for jobs. Now, the NDP plan to improve life for rural Canada is simple. Invest in people. Invest in dignity in retirement, invest in Main Street jobs, investing in the safety of our most vulnerable, and again, of our agriculture and our food supply. That's why we have plans to create $1,015,000 a day childcare spaces, to invest in small manufacturing with innovation tax credits. The party that brought us healthcare wants to save healthcare. We have plans to create 200 new medical clinics, hire 7,000 new doctors and nurses. We have plans to provide adequate services for 1.5 million young adults under the age of 24 who are suffering alone with mental illness, including those in our communities. And we plan to balance the budget as we do so. Because, like households across this riding, the NDP wants to live within our means. People say it can't be done or that it will be too expensive. They will say that tonight, I am completely sure. But the thing is, none of them tried. And that's what this election is about. Making an honest effort. Because rural society is taking a beating. Young people are heavily in debt. Seniors are kept on the edge of poverty. And the Canada I grew up in, it's not the Canada I live in now. Profit has taken the place of prosperity, and jobs are low-paying and scarce. Something happened along the way, but it happened gradually. And the backbenchers in power could have changed it, but none of them tried. None of them tried to stop our current government from stripping protection from our water, from shortchanging Canadian farmers, from selling out our manufacturing sector and continuing to sell out our manufacturing sector. They all could have tried, but none of them did. Conservative backbench has been coasting for 4 years now. 4 years of blind obedience and photo ops. Where's the ambition? Or where's the fire to do better? I will make an honest effort, and I will accept responsibility for my choices. Because in Huron Bruce, in the here and now, the NDP has the best chance to defeat Harper's Conservatives. The numbers are on our side, and we finished second in 2011 with 25% of the vote. Nobody thought that would be possible. And you can go to strategic voting sites, Lead Now, Strategic Vote Canada. They will tell you the NDP is in the best place to put Harper's Conservatives out of the job in Huron Bruce. As I said, we are in a good position, and our leader, Tom Mulcair, he's a man of principle. He's adhered to the NDP's principles throughout this campaign. Principles of unity, equality, and peace, and of love, hope, and optimism. We've held our line through some difficult times on Bill C-51, on fighting for the rights of Indigenous peoples, and on taking care of our own humanitarian and environmental crises at home before we go starting wars abroad. The Harper government's been dismantling Canada for the past 4 years, devaluing our laborers, using farmers as bargaining chips, giving crumbs to seniors, and clawing back loaves. Now, people could have stopped it. The backbench could have stopped it. But none of them tried. So I'm asking you tonight to vote for me, someone who's witnessed the effects of government cuts and corporate bailouts on the rural workforce. Because quite frankly, I don't want to take another picture of work boots hanging on a chain link fence the next time a factory closes. Huron Bruce needs a representative from Huron Bruce, not a parachute candidate, not a fringe candidate, or one who will put his job prospects ahead of our drinking water, our democratic rights, and finding a meaningful solution to end violence against women. The NDP wants to shift the focus back to people, improve their health, improve their social networks, improve their opportunities to run successful businesses at home and on the farm. My name's Gerard Cressis. I'm your NDP candidate for Huron-Bruce. I'm out of time, but it's time we start thinking about the next generation of politics and the next generation of Canadians. And it's time we took the power back. Thank you. It should also be added that the vast majority of jobs are not in Huron-Bruce either. And, well, it's very true. And a lot of these things, I mean, I look at the newspapers too, and poverty and transportation issues are one of the huge factors in why people can't take these jobs. People don't have enough to get by, and if you want to be, talk about the social assistance loop, people have to sell their cars to be able to get any help from the government as it stands. And I know that's a provincial issue, but this is a poverty loop, and that's why people can't get to work at the bottom. You say, oh, why don't you just go get a job? A lot of people can't because they had to sell everything they had to be able to even get a little bit of help. Now the NDP, I mean, what we want to do is invest in small manufacturers because, well, we've seen the current approach. Volvo and Goddard's is a good example, and I was there when the plant closed. That was 400 jobs gone. The plant moved to Pennsylvania. They're not making graders anymore. The intellectual property was sold. So if they wanted to make graders in Goddard's anymore, good luck. And that's the type of trade system that we have. Yes, we can say, oh, we're opening up markets, we're opening up markets. We're opening up markets for our labor, for the Americans, for the Chinese, because I know where Ben worked, and there's 3 flags hanging outside there now, where there used to be only 1. I only have a single rebuttal, and that's to Mr. Thompson. If Ben doesn't use the name Harper too much, I would say you're using the name Trudeau as a crutch. Now, this election presents the first opportunity for change in Canada in 150 years alternating between red and blue governments, and it's an opportunity for progress and for prosperity. And we need to contemporize politics because the next generation of voters don't feel they have a government that reflects their views. Job opportunities have dried up, and we have to create new ones for them to come home to. I don't want to see hometowns fade away, and I know you don't either, because we're stronger than that. And I know that because I've been here all along, writing the stories, taking the photos, following up on our greatest successes, and sadly our greatest tragedies. I'm 34 years old. I've been in local news for 10 years almost now in communities across this region. I have an intimate knowledge of how rural Ontario works because it's been the focus of my entire career. I'm a first-generation Canadian on my father's side, or new stock if you go by Harper's definition. My family came to Canada from Belgium 8 years after the Second World War because my grandfather didn't want his sons dying in vain after what he went through. Canada accepted them, they accepted us with open arms. But Canada's arms are closing, and so is its mind. People are afraid now. They're afraid of the unknown, afraid for their jobs and their families, and now the Reds and Blues want you to be afraid of us. Conservatives will tell you Canada can't afford to put the NDP first. Meanwhile, under Harper, they've racked up 1/4 of Canada's total debt since Confederation. The Liberals will tell you an NDP vote is a wasted vote. Meanwhile, they are 3rd place in this riding, and they know it. The NDP wants to shift focus back to people because it's people's votes that build government, and it's people's votes that should take them down. Our Canada has consequences when the powerful prey on the weak. Now, to all those small C Conservatives who Harper ignored, to all those blue Liberals who want stability and steadiness, to all those Greens who want fair and truly representative elections, join with me and vote NDP this year. Join with us, and let's take the power back.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our evening. I'd like to once again thank